Welcome back to another video of From the Shed End with myself, T.Dot. As always, thank you very much for joining me. Now, before we get into the content, please make sure you smash that subscribe button and let us know your thoughts as well in the comments. Now, Graham Potter just held his first press conference as Chelsea head coach. It was all very sentimental, nostalgic, took him down the trip down memory lane, as you can imagine, for a first press conference. A lot of questions about his move from Brighton and being appointed the new head coach at Chelsea. Well articulated press conference. I thought, he handled the press really well in terms of what I think the press wanted out of him. There wasn't really much about the game, which is frustrating with these press conferences, especially being the first one. You would have expected a few more questions about the actual game, which is what you kind of get from the old school press conferences that we used to listen to, many years ago, many seasons ago. But I thought, Graham Potter done well. I thought he'd done a really good press conference. Obviously, media trained, expect nothing less. But I'm excited. The more I hear from Graham Potter, the more I'm excited by the vision, the planning that hopefully is being done together with Todd Boehly and the others on the board as well. Couple of key injuries. Obviously, there was an earlier training session that was held this morning for the players. Two massive absentees. One which was obvious was Angola Kante, who is still out with an injury. But a big one that kind of threw a lot of people off was Mendy, who we've all been calling should be dropped anyway. It looks like that is going to happen because he's now injured, which is good. If you're one of those that wanted Mendy to be dropped for tomorrow's game, which gives the opportunity for Kepa to come back into the team. Someone that I thought was going to play against Dinamo Zagreb anyway, but this is his opportunity, as I've said before, for Kepa to shine, to give everyone the opportunity, not just Kepa, the Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, Mason Mount, who started the season relatively poor, Kai Havertz as well. A lot of players, Jorginho, another one. A lot of players that may not necessarily been given 110% under Thomas Tuchel. It's a clean slate. It's a blank canvas for some of these players to come into this game and to give their all, their all into a game. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of changes over the next couple of weeks in terms of formations and tactics and team selections as well. And this is a really crucial time for Graham Potter because he has to hit the ground running. And I don't just say that because this is Chelsea and it's a Chelsea thing to do, but I also think as well, a lot of scrutiny and will be over him every single game. Sometimes Brighton were able to lose games and it was almost forgotten about or not even spoken about as a loss. When you're Chelsea, every game feels like a loss, even if you draw. And I think the media, there's a massive magnifying from the media, the board, the fans, TV pundits. So it's a massive step up. And you want tomorrow for not just Graham Potter, but for us as Chelsea fans, the team, the club, to do well. I think tomorrow's a massive test in terms of the team's resilience to bounce back from what's been a poor season so far, 6 games into the league, and obviously opening day loss in the Champions League as well. You want this to be a massive statement from the players to say that, they do want to play for the club, they do want to back the manager, they do want to, do well for the fans. More importantly, the fans who pay to play and pay to watch them play. You want to see a good performance from the players. So the key absentee obviously being Mendy gives Kepa the opportunity. Now, a lot of people asked me over the weekend, did a few podcasts separately from my own about who I would select. I'm going to do that in a separate video tomorrow. But what I will say is Graham Potter has been known to play 3 centre-backs, 3-5-2 formation with, I think it was Trossard who would normally play on the left side of that. But I can't really see him doing that. I mean, I think potentially the change that we might see is Graham Potter trying to accommodate Ben Chilwell and Marc Cucurella in a team. Now, we know that Marc Cucurella can play left centre-back. We know that Ben Chilwell can play left wing-back, left-back as well. And I do think we might see that tomorrow at some point, whether it's the start of the game or during the game at some point. But I think we'll see that change, that shift for Cucurella to come into the centre-back role on the left side of that back three. Will it work? I mean, it's no real difference to me in terms of how we've been playing anyway. At times, Ben Chilwell and Reece James or, Marc Cucurella or Marcos Alonso at one point, they were almost playing as wingers. So it was almost making up. It's a very similar formation, very set up, very, very similar to how we've been playing anyway. I would like to see two strikers, which I know Brighton have done quite a lot under Graham Potter. They played with two strikers. Now, we do have, surprisingly, two strikers in Armando Broja and Patrick Aubameyang. So I do think it'd be nice to see the two strikers up front, but then it does, again, limit who do you play behind the two strikers. Obviously, you'd expect Jorginho to be in that midfield. Mateo Kovacic, who I think has been a missing piece of the puzzle for why we've been playing so poorly over the last couple of weeks. But I do think we need to, I'll talk about it in depth more in tomorrow's video, but I do think we need to get this formation, this tactics, these team lineups correct from the start, because I think one of the criticisms that we had over Thomas Tuchel was the team was not set up to play the game that we needed to play. And when you do that, you're already on the back foot. When you're going into these big, important games, you can't expect to go into any game and underestimate the opponents like we did against Zagreb. So, Salzburg, we'll talk about them in a bit more depth. But I do want to talk again about Angola Kante, because, of course, there's been a lot of talk over the summer. I think we've mentioned it on here a couple of times as well, about Angola Kante's contract and also Jorginho's contract as well, which seems to be non-existent. But N'Golo Kante apparently has turned down a 2.5-year deal. He wants an extension beyond that in his contracts, increasing pay, I think, as well. But it seems he wants a bit more longer of a duration in his contract to maybe as a safety net for himself, gives himself a bit more stability in terms of his future. He clearly feels like he's got a lot more to give as a Chelsea player, which is good to hear. The one issue is that he's very injury prone, which we know. He's an injury prone player. I think he missed maybe at least over 20 games over the last 12 months, maybe 30 games over the last 12 months due to injury. It's a lot to miss out on. And you look at some of the younger players that are getting their 5-year deals. You understand those longer contract extensions from a player and a board perspective, but I think with Kante, it's difficult because of his age. We know under the old regime, he wasn't really given a 3-year contract, 4-year contract beyond 30 years plus. You just wasn't getting them. So, you get the 1 year with the option to extend, or at best you'd get a 2-year deal. So I think for Kante, I think if he can get this deal, then of course it's brilliant for him. I think he's a really good player. I still think he's a world-class player. I think he's someone that we heavily rely on when he's fully fit. The problem is he's again, because of the position that he plays, the amount of work that he does, the amount of running that he does, it takes its toll on you. It will take its toll on anyone's body. And I think he's someone that will flourish in a team. If the in the right team, talking about another league across Europe, he might actually regain that fitness and, have a different role. But I think in the team and the way that we play, the intensity that we play, the intensity of the Premier League, I think is very testing on his body at the moment. And, I can't remember the last season he went uninjured, the last three or four seasons, probably pre-COVID is probably the last time he had an injury-free season. So I get the reservations from the board, from the ownership, from potentially maybe even the manager at the moment, offering Kante a new contract for that length of time. It'd be a shame to lose him, because I think, again, he's someone that we miss heavily when he's injured. We've got to see that over the last couple of weeks. With Jorginho, I think one of the two will go, and I do think it will be Jorginho. He was been heavily linked with moves back to Italy for the past 2 summer transfer windows, and as I said, there's been no talk of a new deal for him. There's been no conversation, so I'd be very surprised if we lose both players. I think, there's, again, I think there was a nice deal for Kante on the table before Thomas Tuchel left. Obviously, the new change in manager has potentially had a derailment of that as well. So, it's going to be a tough couple of. I mean, I think his contract ends at the end of this year, so you'd expect something to be done in the next 6 to 8 weeks at least, to avoid any confusion for the player, for the club, going into that very busy period after Christmas, after a World Cup as well. I think he's probably going to want something wrapped up pretty soon if it's Kante. And also from a club's perspective, I think, that planning of transfer strategy that we spoke about for the whole of the summer transfer window, that will have a knock-on effect because, we look at our defence and that looks very comfortable at the moment in terms of the players that we've brought in, and hopefully they can gel together. But now you focus on the midfield and you see that there's a lot of weaknesses in there. There's a lot of weaknesses. If we were to lose Jorginho and end up in a situation where we lose Kante, we're back at the position of defenders at this summer transfer window. We will need to replace at least 3 or 4 midfielders over a short period of time in one window, which isn't ideal at all. So I think we'll keep Kante. I think the deal will get done. I don't see it being an issue. I think potentially maybe the player will have to take what is on the table from the club at the moment, and I think he'll agree to the deal. I think Kante's smart. I think he knows that he's set up here. He likes the lifestyle that he's got here. A very humble person, and I think he'll take that deal to see his contract out. He's already come out and said he loves the club and he wants to see out his contract. So I think if we can offer him what he wants, then do that. But if we can't, then I think there needs to be some sort of middle ground for club and player to get that deal done, which then allow Jorginho to move on and allow us to bring in the right midfielders that we need to bring in, because one of the key areas, and we've shouted about it on here for many weeks, is having that DM, having someone that can come in and do the job. And there's a lot of talk about Zakaria. Can he do that? But it's yet to be seen. So I'll talk about the team selection, as I said, in tomorrow's video. I'm looking forward to doing that, so make sure you tune in for that one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give us a like as well. Give us a thumbs up. I see a few of the comments as well, so I appreciate anyone that is leaving comments and watching the videos. So please, more of that as well. And again, hit the Linktree link in the description and it will take you to all our social accounts, our Spotify account and also Apple Podcasts. So make sure you got all your notifications on so you will not miss a video, a podcast, a tweet, nothing. So again, thank you all for listening. This has been T.Dot. Until next time, tomorrow's video should be out very, very early, hopefully. So again, notifications on, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Thanks for watching. Until then, stay safe and we'll be back soon.